Like there's no way you build a modern country, a modern society without energy usage. But at the same time, you cannot solve the problem if you don't empathize with the problem.
Yes.
You don't empathize with the person that has a problem.
Yeah.
So we are empathizing, right? And we know what the problems are. And it's not one problem, a lot of problems. So how are you doing?
Question first. Let me just say surviving. How about you now?
I'm alive. In software, you have like code, they say keep alive. 10 seconds, keep alive. So I hope mine is infinite.
To be clear, that's not an indication of our startup status. Because the way I said surviving, keep alive.
It's the weather. It's the weather. People are doing summer, while in our own case, we have rainy season. So yeah, this is, it's been a kind of long break. Maybe not very long. I think there was an episode before this, the grid episode, right? But I think this is normal, regular episode. So it's been a minute. So welcome everyone to the Blue Couch Podcasts by Power Labs. And yeah, welcome my co-host Toby.
Happy to be here. I didn't know I was promoted to co-host.
Oh, okay.
You guys left me in the Off the Grid Live podcast. Nobody interviewed me.
You're not interviewed? I forgot. So yeah, it's been an interesting past couple of months, and while we like to talk to people, share stuff, sometimes you just have to get your hands dirty. And we've been getting our hands dirty for the past couple of months. Not like we've not been getting our hands dirty before, but when you're mining, it's different levels. So we've gotten to another layer, and it's been very interesting. But we still need to speak our truth.
Yeah.
And our truth, the way we look at things, I think it's important. I think it's regardless of, it might not be now, it might be tomorrow, it might be next tomorrow, but someone will listen to it and they will gain an insight that they did not have before. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. We'd like to talk about the most important, should I say, person or a category when it comes to energy. And what do we think? What's our own special take on energy consumers? So that's what we want to talk about, energy consumers. How Power Labs think about energy consumers.
Yeah.
So what do we think about energy consumers? Personally, I think without the consumption side, without demand, there is no point of supply.
Yep. So
in the entire, how do I put it now? In the entire, should I say, in the entire energy chain, they are the most important. But I feel other solutions or the way the system has been architected or the way everything is done, it's kind of pushed them. Especially, there's even a type of energy consumer. Here we have different type of energy consumers. We have the industrials, we have but the domestic or the normal small business, those ones are, nobody cares about them. So, and even with the industrial, so you look at a lot of things. I was looking at a chart today, actually, and that chart was interesting. Just looking at I love this site. It's called Our World in Data. So I love that site a lot. So sometimes I just go there and start playing with data to see rank, compare this country to this country, blah, blah, blah. And I saw one chart, Our World in Data, and it shows different countries, like maybe from 1970 something to 2025, just show what their average consumption per citizen is. And you see China jump up, like China is maybe fourth now, or in terms of gross, they are the highest, but in terms of per capita, they are not the highest. And the US is the highest. You have France, you have like that, and you see they surpass India, even South Africa is doing well per capita. South Africa, as much as they have a lot of issues, but per capita consumption is actually high up there. And you know who is not here. So and we know this. I mean, I truly believe that energy is wealth.
Yeah.
Like there's no way you build a modern country, a modern society without energy usage. No, I don't want anybody to gaslight anybody. You need, yes, energy should be sustainable, but you are not going to have a wealthy country without energy usage, and you should not force poverty on people.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember this graph I saw. I can't remember exactly where it even shows that direct correlation between um, energy demand and GDP, right?
Energy is wealth.
Like, and it's exactly what you're saying, right? It's
Energy
like
wealth.
energy is literally wealth, right? And it obviously makes sense. I mean, we can go. I don't go into details,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's literally a direct correlation.
And the way I've looked at the way the system has been set up, especially like I grew up in Nigeria. I lived most of my life in Nigeria. Maybe I spent maybe just about like a year or two outside of Nigeria. But so I do understand the Nigerian context. Thankfully, I've seen other contexts. I've seen other countries where there's energy. Although they are making some mistakes, I don't want to talk about what they are doing. They are making some big mistakes. You are seeing what's happening in Europe now. People sweating for no reason, heat wave and everything. Because of foolish mistakes. But I had a back and forth with our producer of this show over previously. We were talking about energy literacy. That's the problem of the. I'm sorry that I'm throwing under the bus a bit here, but I questioned that and I'm like, no, it's not energy literacy. Why? Like we know too much about energy in Nigeria that we should even know.
100%.
Because a man in Rotterdam does not know how much the price of petrol necessarily is if they don't have a car.
Yes.
If they have a car, they will know it. But if they don't have a car, they don't know it. But everybody, like, in fact, our budget is set based on the price of oil, which is energy, right?
Yes.
Our budget is set, like, it is insane. Like, in any country, they just have a budget. Nigeria's budget is benchmarked based on the price of oil, right? Everything is just, everybody knows too much about energy, right? And so I have to think about, like, even here, I don't want to talk about what we've gone through the past couple of, like, 2 months. Yeah. Energy company, you see, okay, like, you can see the front end is nice, but sometimes the back end, the kind of thing that goes on, like to make sure, okay, is there petrol, is there diesel, is there,
exactly.
I'm tracking the price of diesel, tracking the price. It is insane.
It's insane.
You know too much. And so I've always thought about it this way, that I have this, my own take on it is that, yes, I want to give agency to the energy consumer.
Yeah.
If they want to know more, they should be able to know more. But also, if they don't want to know anything, they should, like, so you get kind of like, you're toggling that's between, like, from reductionist to holistic.
Yeah.
So, like, I want a world. What kind of vision do I have? I want a world where I'm like, I have some money in my wallet and, I want 24 hours electricity. That's what I'm optimizing for.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe the cost is too much. I toggle the cost down and it's now telling me, okay, this is what you're going to get. This is what it's going to look like based on what you have. So that way I'm now looking at the different thing I want to know. But I'm assured of supply, clean supply at the time I need it.
Yeah.
Like, people just want supply.
Yeah.
Right. So think about DSTV.
Yeah.
Right. You just watch, you just put channel 2 to something, channel 1, I want to watch EPL on Saturday. And they're like, okay, I don't want to mention the station, they're not paying us. But you go to that, but I've mentioned DSTV already. So you go to that station, you put, like, you've programmed that stuff already, like, okay, channel, maybe your number 5 on your remote goes to that stuff, and you watch that station immediately. Everything is just almost seamless.
And this is a very interesting point you're mentioning, right? Like, I remember in the early days of Parlors when we were going around, pitching and, like, just speaking to different investors, and this is not even, don't even think VCs now, just think people, like, that you want to get buy-in on what you're doing. And I remember I would always, like, show this slide that spoke about the fact that Nigeria is the number one self generation market in the world. But then I was also like, another reason why, because the question you be asked a lot is like, why start from Nigeria? Like, you can go anywhere. Why here?
This ground zero.
Right? Like this, and it's almost like sometimes you get that question based on like, from a talent perspective, where they're like, you want to build this computer technology here? Why? And my answer used to be like, what exactly what David said, right? Whereas, yeah, because here more than other places, the talent people know a lot about energy by force. Like it's by necessity. It wasn't like
it's not intentional.
It's not intentional. Like they didn't want to, but they don't realize that they actually have.
Like people do things to their generator. They know that they can tilt the generator. They can raise one thing. Like why?
It's insane. Like down to even down to like power banks. I ask anybody, they know how much
20,000 mAh.
They literally know down to the detail. And I'm like, this is actually not normal, right? So from that perspective, right, it's an interesting thing. But then there's another perspective that you mentioned, which is so important. It's like, should they have to know? Like, what they have to go through to get that knowledge, and do they have to go through that journey? Like that journey to get that knowledge was not a fun journey, right? They have knowledge, yes, but the journey that they had to go through to get that was painful, right? So, is there an easier way? Can it be more of a choice to get the knowledge, right? Maybe per se, but is there an easier way to go about it? That's one. Then another angle I think about a lot is I look at just computers a lot. Like I think sometimes computers have become so ingrained in our lives that we don't realize that like computers are something that were like just before you know how to use a computer, you have to be some kind of scientist, or you have to know how to maybe even code to some extent.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget that now, like everybody's carrying a computer,
everybody, like
your phone, your watch, like. And this comes to your point, David. That like this is how I think about your point, right? Where it's like people should be able to interact with energy, but not necessarily have to go through all these pains, or maybe they might not even have, because you can just click this button and I'm touching the computer right now. You know,
I'm listening to you, and it's coming to me from the perspective of design. I feel what you are just saying is that the UX of energy is broken, right?
Yes.
The back end of energy, we need to fix it in Nigeria, but we already know what the fix is. It's not a new thing. You have fuel, whatever we have that for. Maybe it is solar, maybe it is petrol, diesel. You know how internal combustion engines work. You know how we know how all this technology work. The transmission, all these things have been done, hundreds of years ago, right? And yes, Power Labs, and there's still nothing is fully done. There's always iteration. There's always getting things better, right? But in science, and that's the life that we live. You always get things better. You always look at things in a different way. However, what hasn't really been done or has been taken seriously, maybe it's not only energy that has this problem, but when you look at the digital world, the web-centric world, right? People like payments, like you look at things like commerce, right? But the industrial world, manufacturing, utilities, there's the UX is broken, right? And when I say the UX is broken, it means in commerce we figured out a way like how to, I don't want to say cut out middlemen in some ways, like you can buy things, like you don't have to go to markets to go and buy something. You can take your phone and just talk. Like look at what when Instagram came, it felt like it's just like a social thing, but they've layered transactions, they've layered commerce on it. People have, like most people I know, especially like younger people, buy most of their clothing from Instagram stores, right? So I've always thought about it, and from what you were saying is the abstraction layers, right? When you start already, what's it called? The social network started. You might feel like, okay, just this person will communicate with this person, just about the social graph and all. But as you go on 5-10 years down the line, they will layer new ways, like, okay, there's commerce happening. There are a lot of interesting things happening on top of that, right? And I feel that is missing in the world of bits.
Yes.
Sorry, that's wrong. In the world of atoms, right? In the world of atoms, in the world of like the transportation, all this, like, is missing a lot. So what you usually have is, okay, you just want to buy electricity, just vent, that's it. You get, that's just it, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of thinking has to be done, like design thinking has to be looked at. How do you look at the user journey of the consumer, whether they are an industrial consumer or a domestic consumer or a small business?
Yeah.
Like, and one thing that where you have to start from, my belief is you start from being empathetic. You need to walk in their shoes, and I like that. We are here in Lagos. We are literally walking in their shoes.
Yeah.
We are seeing what the challenge is every month. So we know what the problem is. You cannot. I have to say something that to solve a problem for someone, you need to be able to zoom out and zoom in.
Yes.
So yeah, you can zoom out, with all these world-class talents, experience, you can see what's, you can
patterns.
You can see patterns that maybe someone that will not see.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, you cannot solve the problem if you don't empathize with the problem.
Yes.
You don't empathize with the person that has a problem.
Yeah.
So we are empathizing, right? And we know what the problems are. Yeah. And it's not one problem, a lot of problems. But, I feel the energy consumer, my take is Power Labs, we look at them and like, we are going to change the UX of energy.
Yes.
And when I say UX of energy, it does not necessarily, people start thinking of, Figma. No. UX is not Figma. And it annoys me, I actually wrote something. You remember, I wrote something company-wide where I talked about, data and UX. That everybody that's in this company needs to think from that perspective. Yeah. UX is important.
Yeah.
What is the journey for even within ourselves, within an organization? Then now think about the problem we are trying to solve.
Yeah.
Someone wakes up in the morning. How is their journey going to look like? How is the journey of someone that is running a business and energy cost is 50%?
Yeah.
And they're barely surviving.
Yeah.
Right. So you want to reduce their cost. How are you going about it? How are you ensuring reliability? How are you sometimes you solve the problem, but if you don't solve it the way that empathize with them, they might not even know that you have solved the problem for them.
Exactly.
And that way, like imagine giving someone drugs and you don't put proper dosage.
Yes.
So they can swallow the wrong dosage and maybe either is ineffective or it could be dangerous.
Yeah.
So that's where UX matters. That's why I hate doctors' handwriting.
No, like this point you made is actually a very interesting one where I love how you said that, and I'll give you a very different, controversial like POV, right? But what the exact point you made around the fact that you might solve the problem, but not in the way, because you haven't fully touched grass or empathize, right? You might solve it not in the way that they actually needed it to be solved, and you might be surprised like, what's going on? And then I'll give you a pretty crazy example. Now let's look at like an individual living in Nigeria, right? And you mentioned the user journey, right? So they wake up and they either have light or don't have lights, and that alone determines the day, right? If there's no light, it determines like how they move, like, or if they have to turn on generator or what. Like, there's so many things that come.
What kind of clothes they can wear?
What kind of clothes they can wear, right? All these different things are actually just coming from just that one action, right? And then and so on and so forth. Now, the question you can ask there is now like the problem you just think is that okay, the solution is just give them lights now, right? Like just give them lights. So what you now start saying to them is more generators, right? Oh, like just give me a generator, just get solar panel, just get this. And next thing, one household is obviously with this many devices, right?
Yeah.
And so on. And then it's like you're wondering, but the problem is just more devices, and they keep saying to them more and more devices, right? But then you kind of think like, okay, that should solve the problem. But then again, how many households have
the capacity, financial capacity, even the space? There's a lot of considerations to think about. It's like
so many.
It's like giving someone like giving a surgeon
dosage,
an hammer.
Yeah.
No, maybe a surgeon, maybe the person is a brain surgeon. Then maybe they have like the surgical hammer.
Yeah.
But it's just like give a surgeon an hammer for everything. I want to cut something, give
Yeah,
hammer.
hammer.
Everything hammer.
That's a very
No,
good point.
you know,
Yeah.
and the dosage is important too. Different dosage for different type of problem.
Yes.
So what you are going to tell a small business might be different from what you tell an individual.
Exactly.
Different from what you tell a big business.
Exactly.
So a big business, you can start, and even the financial, the implication, financial, environmental, a lot of considerations. There are too many parameters that one single mind cannot possibly maybe comprehend, and that is where Power Labs comes in.
Exactly.
So declutter is interesting, no pun intended, that even look at our cables in Nigeria, they're always cluttered and all. But even so, the energy issues are cluttered too.
Yeah.
So we need like some organization, that chaos, something that comes that organizes it. You don't need to know too much. If you want to know too, is that we kind of, I'm looking at the type of customers we have. We have some customers that they are like literally power people.
Yes.
So it's not just it's only no. We have people that they care about the power factor. They care about the details, how we are measuring, the way you are transferring. They care about all of those.
Yeah.
There are some people they don't care. They don't want to know. They just want to know that this is the amount I'm spending, how to reduce it, how to make sure it's reliable.
Economic considerations more than
exactly.
I don't know, kilowatt hours.
Exactly. So you need to, and the only way you can solve that problem for all these types of customers is to just, I think in any products, in any, even as a parent, you have different kids with different needs.
Yes.
And you cannot treat them the same way. And people say this, like, that doesn't mean that you love one child more than the other, but different children, they will have different needs.
Yes.
And you need to be able to provide like emotionally, financially for them. 100%. It's just like someone likes, maybe if you can afford it, this kid. Okay, let me give you an example. I am putting a personal context to this. As a child, I was the strangest child. I didn't like celebrations like birthdays and stuff like that. So my younger sister does. She cares about, like, if you can't tell, like, you need to buy her, do the birthday thing. Talk about going to the park, or I don't care. If buy me, I'm very cheap. Just buy me a book. I read the book and that's it. Right? So, but as a parent, this child wants books. You buy the book for the child. Yeah. This other person she wants to ride horses. She wants to do all this expensive stuff. If you can afford it, you do that for the child.
Exactly.
You don't try to show on everybody if you can afford it, right? So, and that's just financial. There's also the emotional part. So I think it applies to, that thing also applies to products. Yeah. Right? We are feeling the problems for our customers. What the industrial guys, what they are looking at is different from what the common man on the street. And to be, right now people feel like, it's not just businesses these guys are focused on. No, we are this is Power Labs. Yeah. That means we are the entire gamut, the entire, should I say, the entire universe of energy problems is what we are here to solve. So we are going to touch all types of consumers. Yeah. Right. Because even sometimes the people that are doing the disco, they are a consumer in some sense. Exactly. They are consuming the energy from someone. Exactly. So I really think agency, we need to give them tools that can allow them to do more. Yeah. That can allow them to choose to be knowledgeable or choose just the soft life. Yeah. And they still get the outcomes that they want. Then that's okay. You have that's what empowerment means. You have empowered your users. You have made life easier for them. Exactly. Right. And I think that has to happen. And when that happens, I truly believe that when that happens, there are things we do. So it's like I'm not Nostradamus, right? But there are things that people will layer on top of energy that we don't even know.
You don't even know
now.
Yes, I agree.
Who knows, maybe in the future, maybe it will be trading energy like money. Yeah. Maybe energy will be currency. It's possible. It is useful. Unlike crypto. You understand? Like it's actually doing something.
Yeah.
But it actually does something. Like I don't know. I'm just saying we don't know what the universe of possibilities that people will lay on top once we are able to, declutter it a bit.
Exactly.
People will come up with interesting things around energy, and we want to facilitate that. And we are only doing we are going to be able to do that just because we look at energy consumers differently. We don't look at them as just someone that they just give you a bill, just pay the bill.
Yeah.
Just pay the bill, or just you need it, just go and buy a big gen.
Just go and buy a big gen.
We don't. I feel it's just. I still go back to that empathy thing. You just need to have empathy for them, for the users. And the empathy is not about maybe money or anything. It's just about like, this person has a problem. You need to know what that problem is. You need to understand it from their own point of view. Because if you have not done that, you have not solved their problem. No matter what technology you show them. Because, this is actually interesting. Lately, I've been seeing solar everywhere. Right. And you still see some very smart people still speak negatively about solar. Right. And the reason is because the people they've interacted with, they just, this matter of fact, like, and you just buy solar. That's it. Right. You have not sat down to listen to the person. Maybe you don't know, maybe that person's operations require a lot of usage in the night.
Exactly.
When solar is not
really.
And you don't know what amount of capital they have. So maybe they cannot get the type of battery you would expect them to get. You don't know where they live. Do they have access to put enough solar on their roof? What's the real estate for them to. So there are a lot of considerations that if you just describe like, you're sick, just take paracetamol.
It's just.
So in medicine, we take time to do diagnosis, listen, and that's why you see like a general practitioner would be someone that will listen carefully.
Yeah.
We've seen issues with, in some countries, first world countries where, for maybe minorities, they have like different outcomes when they engage with the medical establishment.
Yeah.
And it has to do with the fact that maybe people just don't empathize enough with patients. You just don't listen to them enough.
Exactly.
Right.
Or you diminish their pain.
Their pain. Exactly. Like,
right.
Fine, just take this injection.
Just take this. Just buy a big gen.
Do you understand?
It's like no. Like,
exactly. No, so I truly believe we both a scientific, technological or technology company, we're a science establishment, we're a technology company, we're a design company. Right? And design the world, whether science, whether technology, it springs from emotion.
Yeah.
It springs from someone just felt like, someone was not okay with just driving. Felt like, why are birds flying? They're more efficient. And people try to fly for hundreds of years. Some people, it didn't end well until the Wright brothers came along.
Yeah.
Right. And, those brothers and that's the interesting thing about, when people say, why are you doing this in Nigeria? A lot of the big shots then were doing it mostly in Europe. At the time, Europe was Europe, obviously the old continent, the center of innovation and everything then. Nobody believed, I can't remember the states that the Wright brothers came from, but I read their book, their biography, the Bishop Boys. And, just bicycle makers were obsessed about this problem and they worked on it. And they did what the scientific minds of that age could not achieve. They did it. Right. And I think that same kind of obsession, right, is what would happen here, where in our own case, we will have to capture the value. We have to capture. It's not just about solving scientific problem. So, a scientific problem, you solve it, but there's a commercial part. But from the science perspective, from the technology perspective, from every perspective, the person at the center is the consumer. Without the consumer, we are not going to be having this podcast.
Yeah.
So I just like, whether you are an embedded systems engineer, whether you're a product manager, whether you're the CEO, whether you're the CTO, whether you're a marketing person, we have one boss.
Yeah.
Everybody has a boss. I have a boss. I have multiple bosses to be, right? The board, but all of those bosses are not as important as the main boss.
Yeah.
You know what the main boss is? The main boss is the energy consumer. That's the reason why we are doing this. We're not building it for ourselves. Maybe me, I can just pay this. Yeah, Bandy, I don't care. That's it.
And like something I think about you when you mentioned obsession, like that word like stuck with me. Because I really feel, I think I said we've had conversations around this where it's like people who are able to, I guess, solve big problems, do great things, however you want to describe it, they're able to hold on to a problem for a long time. And I've heard this there's this common thing that you use. I think I'm sure on social media is out there. I'm sure in somewhere. I'm not on Instagram, so but you see this thing where it's like, oh, just ask why 5 times, like why, right? And in my head, I think I'm just thinking about that in regards to this. Is like, okay, you need energy. Why? like for what? Why? Like it's almost like there are many other layers of questions that are just never asked, right? That's where people tend to fall short, right? Because if you just answer the first question, you need energy. Yes, yeah, take energy, right? But it's like, in what form? Like for what form? In what form? Right? Because if, for example, now I need energy at this moment to iron, I say buy gen, like buy gen and so on. It's kind of like, okay, like I get that, but are you actually hearing what I'm saying? Right? This is what I actually need it for. This is when I need it. This is so the problem goes beyond just I need energy, right? It's almost like, again, I could go back to compute because it's just what keeps coming to my mind all the time is like, I need to do a video call. Like that's actually the problem I have. Imagine someone taking that problem and just all they hear from me is I need compute, and then they tell me to go and build them data center. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
it's not, you're not able to scale the problem if you don't really understand the problem. Just hear the problem. Yeah, but you need to be able to scale the problem, and in scale is his own property because things change. What's a generator of 5 kVA, the way it behaves is not the way a nuclear plant is going to behave, right? I think, yeah, I get that. I get that a lot.
So I feel like that's something that's every time I sit back a lot, I'm always like, whenever my core job here is, and I love how David said it, customer. Like David has heard a lot of my war stories with customers where even you see all kinds of customers, right? And for me, like I always say I'm willing to be that person that is coming with coffee cup to sit down. Like I am the stupid person. Tell me, right? Because I think a lot of times energy is kind of like the consumer is. I kind of feel looked down on in a way. Like they're almost like a number, or like people that are like, oh, just they'll turn on, like they don't need these lights. Like they just pay the bill. Like, and it's almost just, yeah, customers are just looked down on, I feel, in the industry a lot. And I'm just wondering, like, at what point are people going to realize that you're not going to find the right way to solve the problem unless you actually start taking customers more seriously. And what you're seeing in a lot of developed markets is kind of interesting. Like you're seeing a lot of concepts coming out where it's almost customers are fighting against this thing, NIMBYism, right? You're seeing that coming, like not in my backyard, right?
Yeah.
Because now developed countries have come and said, okay, renewable energy. They now throw that on them. Everybody has to be renewable. They're like, wait, so like,
yeah, what's gonna happen? So there's a lot of constraints.
There's a lot of constraints there. And again, I'm not saying I'm here like campaigning for NIMBYs.
Yeah.
All I'm just saying is it needs to stop being a one-way road.
Yeah, you cannot have just one single solution for all the problems. I'll give you an example that just came to my mind. Talking about like you want to make a video call and like, recording, for example, right? Imagine you site a recording studio in Shomolu. Shomolu is where the printing guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the guys, between these people that print, they have these big generators.
Mm-hmm.
These are not generators with soundproof.
Mm-hmm.
So that means the money, if you want to open a small, so it's even difficult to open a recording studio. You have to spend a lot of money on soundproofing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Even just think about the fact that to even record like videos outside, not in the main road, just outside in Nigeria, the audio is usually very bad.
Yes.
just because of noise. Right? So there's a lot of things that when you want to even prescribe, like an energy solution, we sometimes just focus on the megawatts, the kilowatts alone, and not think about the other environmental considerations.
You diminish. I feel
other
like you diminish
social considerations.
Yes.
You don't consider those things.
Yes.
And those things are very important.
Very, very important.
And this thing took me back to I moderated at one art tech events last year, I think. And there's this person from northern Nigeria, and we're just talking. Interestingly, I was not even talking too much about. I don't really speak too much about energy outside, so I was just speaking generally about the built environment, which is something that I have like an obsession with. I have like problems with the way we build generally. I think it is foolish. We try with the materials, and I don't want to get into Lekki architecture before this conversation will just go south. So, people are suggesting things about cooling and everything, about windows. So we're talking about like how to architecture, how to actually make the, so now cooling costs is a big issue. Even the energy costs we're talking about, AC is the biggest problem, right? So we're talking about like, okay, how these architects of nowadays don't take into consideration the environment we live in, what the humidity is like, what the temperature is like, and if they had designed for that, it would reduce some of the costs. Even the lighting, like if you look at the lighting of many buildings, it's so bad. And you have slits instead of windows, and we're discussing back and forth. And thankfully, there was an architect that has worked in that area. It was like so amazed, like, thank God, someone's talking about it. It was not telling us what he has done, different examples. And that's why it's good to have these conversations. Then one guy was like, yeah, he likes all the things we are saying, but it comes from somewhere where there's a context that we are not looking at. I said, what? And he said, in their own place, I don't think they're going to really like windows, big windows, where you can, like, he gets that, but for them, people have wives. The wives don't usually, this is cultural to them in a part of the world, a part of the country where they're, based on religion and culture, they don't want to, they like privacy is a big issue for them. And yet the houses are close together. You see the problem? Privacy is a big issue. So it's not like there's fence. So how do you still keep privacy and still make sure the house is well cooled? So you start considering what type of materials, not just about the architecture alone, type of materials. Are they alternative ways? Maybe are there ways where air can flow down? Different things are there. And it just shows me like, that is why is even as like architecting, building in the built environments or design or being an engineer, that social part, that social context, that's engaging with the consumer is really critical. Because you will now say, I designed an amazing house, you now go to Kano or wherever, Sokoto, you build an estate that is like that, and you see people do not want to live there. Now, what you think, why are these people, they don't want to live there? Oh, they are this, they are that. But you did not consider the context of that place before you go and shoe on your own solution and just give it to them.
One last example I want to give here, and this is from David's favorite company, and it's a joke, Tesla. But let's just pause for effect. Okay, so now obviously every company has issues, right? But at the same time, two things can be true, right? And I remember, so I mean, for me, I feel like my brain is a jumble of obviously books, a bunch of articles, a lot of YouTube, a lot of like personal research that I do, and I remember when I was just doing some more research to understand why did Tesla succeed. Like it just was confusing to me because I'm someone that like has just I just binge watched a lot of videos about cars, like old cars down to new cars. I just love watching about cars. And I remember I was just like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, people have tried EVs many times before. Like I don't really understand. I mean, I know that yes, there was also like you could say yes, there was policy. I know that there are many things that fell into place. But then I remember, I believe I was watching a video, whether it was from someone on the design team or, yeah, I think someone from the design team. I can't remember. And if I find the video, I'll make sure we add it to the show notes. But it's something that they mentioned as to what Tesla did in regards to their strategy for designing the car and why like it stood out and one of the key parts of their success. And that was the fact that they focused on, it comes to customer empathy, they focused on those things that customers complain about in cars that every car company ignored because they felt it was the silly things. For example, majority of people don't know what half the buttons in the car does. Like, a lot of people don't have, like, all those buttons you see on the dashboard, majority of people don't know, like, they know, okay, indicators and everything, some of the car. Majority of those are AC, maybe. Majority of those buttons, even like, till now, I've seen that, let me talk about drivers. But anyways, let me not go there. But a lot of people don't actually know what a lot of those buttons are. So who are these companies designing those buttons for in the first place? Right? The energy consumer. Did they listen enough? And every time they were upgrading cars, obviously, yeah, they focus on like maybe the mileage, like how, maybe more technical things that they felt were important, which are important too. However, these little things that felt maybe I felt that they were diminished or demoted. One of Tesla's key strategies were apparently to focus more on those things, right? And the second thing that people complain about a lot is the infotainment system. For years, for Tesla, almost everybody hated their infotainment system in their car in some way, shape, or form. It was way overdue. All these other car companies, you want to tell me that they don't have brilliant engineers, brilliant teammates. How didn't anyone, like, why wasn't it taken as seriously? Right? All these complaints. I know I've complained about my infotainment system in my car years ago before Tesla. Right? Tesla anchored a lot of their design on those things that, again, I mean, but then we argue that they left some of the like more important safety critical things.
I don't want to talk about Tesla because
there's that aspect, but like I only want to call out. I mean, two things are true, right? So maybe they over anchored on one side and the other side. But the point I'm trying to make is more. I don't know why there's a tendency of companies, I don't know, just to diminish, and I'm not sure where it comes from, to diminish the customer, almost to make the customer feel like.
So
this is the.
I want to speak to that, and I love vehicles. I am discovering that I actually love antique vehicles. I didn't know that before, but apparently I've always loved them, but I didn't know that I want to buy them. So I'm thinking of getting antique vehicles if I can. And one thing I've seen is not just so there's this account I follow on Instagram that the guy.
Oh, sorry. Just one last point. I need to just close out. I'm sorry, before I lose it. It's just the fact that it goes back to a point, David, you made, and I think what I want to close on that last point was different solutions for different kinds of consumers.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think Tesla is built well for everyone, to be clear, but there are, like how you were describing earlier, that there are different. You need to understand different pain points of the consumer and understand the different kinds of products that you might need to build for them. So maybe that,
I'll go to that point. So I follow this account that shows retro things, old things, and you see so the question is, if you see a kitchen, if you see, I use I have like an oven in my house, a gas oven, and if you look at the oven now, I look at the oven say 80 years ago, they're almost like two separate equipment. That's things that you will be lost in that.
In the more recent version or
in the older version.
Okay.
That's a lot of things. Too many. Like those things could do a lot of things, right? That's advantage and that's disadvantage. And me, I would say I have a contradictory position. Look at our phones. All of them are looking alike, little by little.
Yeah.
But if you think about the 2000s, early 2000s, you had a lot of phones that could do a variety.
Yes.
But something has happened, and the reason is because when you ship manufacturing somewhere, or because of economy of scale, or you don't want to, people tend to unify design.
Yes.
It's easier to just make this material in a particular way, so nobody wants to bend the thing, nobody wants to do this thing. And I reject that. I hate
And
that. So that's why
different.
I don't agree with some things that some of these car companies, and including Tesla, have
Yeah.
done. I feel on the design wise, you think is different, but if you look at the way they stamp the cars, the way they make the cars, what those other vehicles have done is another problem with them is, you know, this old thinking of like, oh, this is the way this car has been, right? They are not taking into consideration that now we have computers in the hands of everybody. Now everybody has YouTube. Now everybody has all these things. But it's just, you know, car companies are still atoms. They did not take the bit aspect very seriously.
Yeah.
Forgetting that before, radio was the only thing that people cared about.
Yes. True.
Nobody is watching TV on. Actually, you should not even be watching TV while you're driving. Actually, let's be honest. If you're watching TV while you're driving, you should be arrested. But my point is, you know, that time there is not like streaming services. There's not, so the kind of that's 1970s. They just kept at that. But I can't remember the last time I listened to radio seriously.
Yeah.
So why should I optimize for a radio in my car?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't Spotify or something like YouTube Music should be the default in my vehicle? So they've lost a lot of the generation that we have right now.
Yeah.
And it's going to what you're saying, that you're building something. Who are you building for? So you build a car that maybe it makes sense to a 60-year-old grandma.
Yes.
But does not make sense to a 22-year-old person or a teenager, a 19-year-old teenager that just got a license, that just wants to start driving, and she's seen all these buttons and like, what is all this? Right. So actually, me, I'm of the opinion that you should reduce the amount of buttons in the vehicle, actually. However, it is insanity for a moving vehicle to be only
of course, to be only controlled by a screen.
Actually unsafe.
I agree with that.
I've seen that. Yeah, actually, you can read the National Highway Transport NHTSA reports across different countries in the world. It's insanity. So buttons are really, really critical. However, I really like clarity. I really like reduce them. The problem now is that those vehicles at time, they wanted to do a lot for everybody. So these things make sense for this person. Let me put another example.
Do a lot in one vehicle.
Let me give you another example. My car has eating most cars in Nigeria. Yeah. So another thing why we look at these things is because we live in somewhere where we don't manufacture.
Yeah.
If you are manufacturing in Nigeria, why would you have eating in your vehicle? If you remove that, won't the vehicle be a bit cheaper?
Yeah, definitely.
But importing the vehicles, they've put things that you don't need in your own society, right? But so these manufacturers, they try to add everything for everybody, right? But I believe you will get to a world where it's where you are baking cake, where you talk to your listening. I believe 20 years from now, you just go to a site, you put the kind of features you want, and the vehicle that will be delivered, maybe to drive itself to your house or whichever way it's going to be.
That's kind of what
that vehicle will be your vehicle, like we will not have the same vehicle.
Yeah.
Based on, I look at a Lego world, a world where there are different parts, modular, and I can just choose. Like I know, like people talk about economy of scale, and yes, I know that is a fact. But I feel with the technology we have and the way the trend is going, and if more thought is put into more people with their big brains go into that dirty world of atoms, and which with the AI, that's a lot of software people will lose their jobs. I think they should come to the world of atoms. To be more people there thinking, right? Gemini and ChatGPT just solved IMO Olympiad, the maths Olympiad. So so if you feel depressed there, just come to the world of atoms. We need more people thinking about that side. And when we build a world where I want to have a world where my phone is not your phone.
Yeah.
My phone has things that your phone doesn't have.
Yeah.
And it still makes economic sense to do that.
Exactly.
So let me just put it this way. I don't want to go and buy a cake in Sweet Station.
Yeah.
They just bake for everybody.
Yeah.
I want the cake that I tell my baker, this is what I want. Although My birthday is very soon, but I don't do cakes. So I tell my baker what I want. I like this stuff. I like this, and they bake the cake according to because we have different tastes.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel technological artifacts should show that. And it was like that at a point. If you think about there was an era in America. You just can feel that artistic
Yes.
feeling. And that is why you see some people still obsessed about those antique vehicles.
Yes.
There's sort of thing about like they just cared more. They're like,
I mean, like even down to even architecture, like used to be. I mean, the master builder, right? Like I don't know if like that's what the master builder was, right? The master builder was pretty much like one person was doing the job of like yes, the architect. They also before they build, they choose the materials, they choose everything. Like it's one person that specializes across that board, and like for that home where it's or that building where it's based. So a lot of people who designed cathedrals back then, like these are all
family work now. It's not something just gone.
You don't just
and
yeah. So yeah,
I suspect we'll get back there.
I
believe in cycles a lot.
So much, yeah.
Because
go back.
Yeah, because the standardization has cost us some things. We try to show on one solution for everyone.
Yeah.
And we see the problem. We see the problem a lot in the way our society is. That's why even some of these waste you are talking about, like e-waste, is because of this kind of problem.
Yeah.
Where you try to show on the same thing for everybody.
Yes.
Right. Buy a generator. The generator that is working in America, like so we buy a generator that was made maybe somewhere. Like, let me just be upfront. I think I want clean energy, but it is insane that we're manufacturing many of this the engines outside of the country.
Yeah.
You are the ones using the gen more.
It's insane.
And you know more about it, right? Some of these people, the generators are not meant to run. They are just like maybe emergencies.
Yeah.
Our own generators run
exactly
all the time.
Our generators are not necessarily backup.
They're not backup.
Let's
in some
honest,
cases,
right?
they are the main source.
Even they're categorized as backup power sources. They're actually not
They are
necessarily
the main
backup.
sources in many parts of the they are parts of even modernized states in Nigeria where there is no grid.
Yeah.
Right? They need to use generators.
Yeah.
So we have that problem like more. We should spend more time to solve that problem. It's like as much as an outsider would try to solve a problem for you, there's a gating or there's a limitation in the amount of empathy that they can have. Right? They can have some empathy, but they don't even have the tools.
Yeah.
Should I say the emotional tools?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to make it. They don't have the emotional tools to really fully engage. So that's why you see people, and we've seen how aid has not really worked.
Yeah.
Aid in Africa has not. Let's be honest, that's failed.
Yeah. And just even just for going to, I want to just touch on that point around like they don't have the. I don't know if you want to say I don't know if what you're using. Is it empathy to engage? Like
because it is exactly. They don't have the tools, the emotional tools to be like. Because you fly Princeton graduates. You are from I don't know Midwest America or somewhere.
Yeah.
You love Africa. You care about the energy problem. You come here, but you are in Sheraton.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
In Sheraton. Yeah. Even sometimes when you go to study, go to where the thing is happening, they still want and you still leave. It's not part of your daily life. It does not have energy poverty. See, the actual cost to this energy poverty that if I want to go, it will make this episode too sad when you think about healthcare.
Yeah.
If I tell you the cost of energy poverty, the cost of unreliable electricity, what does cost? The lives, the Einsteins, the Claude Shannon that has gone that we never had them. Just there was this case of unreliable electricity that happened and in an hospital a while ago, and the incubators were not running. It was not full or something. When you think about what that's the implication of that, it is insane. So we've been talking about this, from our own perspective as builders, right? And as you've been engaging with this problem for a long time. from your internship days down to Google, and now you're building Power Labs, right? I remember my SS2 physics project. I don't know if Laulu will be listening to this. He's at Purdue. Well, my three of us built something together. Laulu, one of my very close friends. Then Akim is in Australia. Both of them are not nearing energy again. But we built like hand-cranked power generator. That was in 2005. That's 20 years ago. Hand-cranked power generator. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's 2005, 2006.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, I've not left that problem. So, but other than just two of us, we've engaged on this problem for a long time. I think another thing is like, right now in the studio here, we have people listening. And interestingly, they have questions that they want answered. So I think we should just engage with those questions and let's give it a shot. Some of those questions are very, very tough. So I'm not going to name the person that asked some of those questions, but okay, this is a very good question. So there's this book by Gretchen Bakke. I think this
The
sounds,
Grid.
Yeah, The Grid. And there was this talk about the grid fragmentation. So the question is, so if everyone becomes a prosumer, and a prosumer is a producer, a consumer, does that mean we are living in a post-grid society, even though this is not the ideal way it was imagined? Do you want to give that question a shot?
Okay. So the last part of that question for me is actually what stood out to me. Is what stood out to me most, which is, even if it's not the way we imagined, right? So I'll take it back a little bit to my last job in the lab in San Francisco, and I remember we were talking about two types of energy systems, right? Centralized and decentralized energy systems, right? And we kind of like did the whole thing where we divided countries into those systems, right? And the thought behind that was, decentralized energy systems maybe is not what we want, kind of thing, right? It's not the right way. The right way is centralized. It's kind of like it's the perception that you tend to hear, right?
Yeah.
And I obviously strongly disagree with that, personally, right? Now, when I hear this question, it kind of triggers that in me again, where it's like,
the ideal
says who? So let me just pause there before I go on a rant. But I'll just tee you up there, David, a little bit.
Yeah, so I read that and I'm like, one, there will always be a grid. Whether that grid is decentralized or decentralized, to depend on a lot of factors. But when you say the ideal way, like the ideal should be, is the customer getting what they want? Is the consumer getting what they want?
Exactly.
If the consumer is getting what they want and is that decentralized that works, then that is it.
That is it. Don't try and design.
It's like you want to force them into, because this is the way you saw it. This is the way you can envision it. There was no electricity 1,000 years ago.
Yes.
So everything that we have can be built and rebuilt.
Exactly.
So whatever you add, electricity, take from Faraday to this moment, everything is maybe less than 300 years, right? And so all those things were humans that came up with it, with factors, economic factors that determined why those solutions were built that way.
Yes.
Some of those factors have changed.
Exactly.
There was no, like when you hear countries owing the amount of their owing, maybe it's not the same way it was. There was no IMF 100 years ago. There wasn't any World Bank. There's no crypto. There's no Bitcoin. So things have come up, and sometimes maybe some of the real world, the way we've designed some of our systems need to keep up, right? Because it is humans that built it, and humans can rebuild it.
Yeah.
So I don't, the ideal thing, I find it sketchy. I feel there will still be a grid. There will always be a grid. I will not say. I will say we are living. Maybe we are living in a post-centralized grid world.
Yes.
But there will be a grid,
Exactly.
right? And the ideal. And one thing I want to talk about the ideal way of imagining. So she's talking about like in the future, and I want to see it this way. There's this statement. I don't know who said it, but there's this very popular quote that the best way to predict the future is to create it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it. And that future is really, I care more about reliable, sustainable energy. Reliable, sustainable,
Affordable.
and affordable energy.
Yeah.
I don't care, maybe. So,
Okay, be centralized.
one of my favorites, I know some people will give me flack for this, but one of my favorite world leaders ever was, he's dead now, LKY. Lee Kuan Yew, the father of modern Singapore. And I think I was reading it in his one of his autobiography. I think it was, so in that part he was quoting someone else. This should be Deng Xiaoping, one of the Chinese guys, the Chinese premier that opened up China after Mao. So then he was coming to Singapore because Singapore has a lot of ethnic Chinese there. So he's like, if these people can modernize and they can be like this, there's nothing that genetically prevents us to build a modern society. So when there, go and learn from them, Japan, Korea, and China supposedly communist, but those guys are capitalists. Yeah. So it was like, see, it doesn't matter what system, so far it catches mice. It doesn't matter, maybe a cat is black or white.
Yeah.
A black cat to purple cat to so far it's catching mice. That is the work. That's why you bought the cat. So if you like, the cat should have any color. Is it doing the job? Rather than fixating on the solution that you have ahead of time, or a theory or something, what does the job should matter more to you? What the outcomes matter, not grandiose plans, So that's the way.
Ideals.
That's the way. Ideals, yeah. So the second question is actually interesting. Like, in Nigeria. Question is actually interesting. Like, some people in this country, Nigeria, are using EVs, all sort of smart devices. Others are struggling to get an I pass my neighbor gen. So I pass my neighbor gen is like a colloquial term for, these small, very small size generators for households, small households, and not small businesses to use it, like barbers, salons, and some that have gens still struggle to get fuel. What does it mean to an energy consumer in a country with such extremes? Yeah. So I want to say, thankfully, to be studying economics. And economics is a very vast field with, some people are macroeconomists, some are developmental economics. There's this thing I'm interested in, and something that maybe you can look up, the Atlas of Economic Complexity, right? I think Cesar Hidalgo and some other people worked on it, from Harvard and MIT back in the day. It's a very interesting tool. It can show you how complex your economy is. And so instead of people think, people come and say, name one politician, that's the problem. This person is the problem. That's not the problem. What complex thing can you build in that society? It matters more than education, like university education. It matters more than maybe whatever economic, political, this thing. So today, we just talked about the fact that energy is wealth, right? So this is a kind of, is it catch 60 or what? Catch 22 situation where you ask yourself, these people need to, for people to even, the same people are struggling to get fuel, you have this inequality. But for that wealth to happen, there has to be energy in the first place, right? So that's where, when you look at consumers, you cannot use the same lens to look at all of them. People have different needs. So maybe that person that has a small generator just needs reliable 5 hours in a day.
Yeah.
they can afford just 5 hours in a day, right? Maybe that person does not have a laundry machine. Person is not cooking with electricity. Person does not have an AC. They want enough electricity to charge their phones. They want to be able to charge their laptops. They want maybe to be able to iron their clothes or whatever it is that they need to do. So they have different needs, and that's where it's not only technology. Any solution you are building, it has to be techno-economic. And what I mean is there are financial models that will speak to someone like that. We've seen it across, like in our society, people don't buy. When I was growing up, I knew that like if you want to buy vegetable oil, you used to buy this can of King's. Well, I rarely use those type of oil anymore. I use mostly olive oil, but I don't know. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of sachets.
Exactly.
People buy oil in sachets.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying, but it's either that or non-consumption.
Exactly.
Right? Is either that or non-consumption. Like, do they need the entire big can, or is it just a small thing that they need?
Yeah.
So there are models that will come that will find a way to make sure everybody is able to consume.
Exactly.
Now, and that's one problem we have now, and that's why you need to look at the user and say, okay, how do I make this person to consume? Because it's when they consume, they can actually even build the wealth in the first place.
Exactly. And just to build on that, that's I think that there was, this actually comes to that blog I wrote on energy consumerism, right? Where a key part of that blog I mentioned about the statistization of power, right? And this is exactly what David is talking about here, where for someone, they might need that big gallon, right? But for someone, they might just need a small sachet, and that's also okay, right? But then another point that I also want to make here is, and this might be a hidden undertone to that question, right? Because it's something that was said that I feel that maybe we didn't touch on, which is, some people in a country with such an economy, some people have this, high advanced energy systems, some people don't have this. So, and this is why I come back to this sachetization of power, where it's like, it's not about giving them lower quality power, right? Or building something lower quality for them. I want to make that very clear, because I think that's one of the big issues I find, especially to David's point around the Princeton grad comes to solve the problem here. And typically what happens is that you think in a reductive way. This is Africa. Let's reduce the capability of what we build for them, right? Because they need something less than. And it's not that they need something less than. They need that quality of energy, but maybe it's just in a different portion, right? Or a different quantity. That's different from, they need something lower, dumb it down, or, make it less, lower quality and not as reliable, and, bring cheaper generator. When I say cheaper, I mean like lower quality, consumption. So like, I want to just make that very clear, because I feel that's something that I sensed in that question of, just because, it might not be as developed in quotes, doesn't mean it deserves lower quality, right? It still deserves energy that's reliable. I thought I might call it reliable, right? Available, sustainable, right? At the lowest cost, right? So that's a very, very key point just I want to anchor on there.
Yeah, I think truly, it's not just about technology. And Power Labs is not just about technology. We are building for people, and those people have should I say situations, or should I say they're like the different consumers have different financial capacity, and we need to build a product that can speak to different people. It might not be at the same time, right? So, but you need to do that. Okay, so the final question is that I got is actually very difficult to answer. It says, okay, should energy consumption be a right, a privilege, or a product? And give it a shot. This is like an IMO Olympiad question. Like,
should it be a right, a privilege, or a product? Wow. I don't think it should be. This is an interesting question. I don't know if it should be a privilege. And everything it should be like, I think it's almost like how today I would try and argue that almost having connectivity or some level of internet should be a right. Like, I would kind of argue that, even though like recently that there's a new I can't remember who this is. There's a new article that came out.
My take on this, people hate me on this. I will not say too much on this.
Let me just but there's a new article that came out around like, should we have connected? Right, around the fact that like, is internet, like, yes, everybody's saying that it should be right, but you start questioning, should we have connected? Like, there were so many adverse effects that came out of us being too connected. To David's, which is actually David's point around the fact that you cannot compare yourself to someone abroad and to your ancestors here. Maybe you have a different perspective on how Nigeria is. So maybe should internet be a right? I don't know. So I think I'm kind of like, I'm going around in circles a little bit, because it's a difficult question. It's wow. David, help me out here. It's a difficult question.
Yeah, I'll change it a bit. I'll try to change the question a bit and say, it's just two questions. It's right. It's like two choices. I'm not going to put a product as the third choice.
Yeah.
Right or privilege. Because I think product can still speak to either of the two. Whether is a right, someone still needs to build the power plants. Someone needs to manufacture it. Someone needs to pay for that manufacturing. Right. So this question is very deep, because it's basically asking who pays for it. Do you understand? That is what he's asking. Because we are saying, if it's a right, that means someone else is paying for it.
Yeah.
If it's a privilege, that means I don't know, maybe you pay for it. So, and either way, someone has produced something that created it, and so I think it is both, at a fundamental, there should be a level of energy that everybody should be able to get. Right.
Yes.
Then if you want more than that, at the fundamental
and I guess
level,
same with connectivity, right? Like, you should be able to make a phone call and text, but maybe you don't have to have social media if you don't want it.
Maybe you cap the amount that every home should have. And maybe there are different ways to look at it. Maybe a community center where you can always get the way they are food stamps.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where they are food stamps, there are social, ways of. It's still in the capitalist economy. You can still find some ways to help people.
Yeah. But
people need to build these things, and then they need to get paid for building these things. Yeah, I think that's where we'll end today's Lookout podcast. But the thing is, at the center of this company, the energy consumer is the king.
Shikina.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's been exciting, discussing about the energy consumer, because they are the center of everything we are building. So, but, there are more interesting things that we're always talking about. And please, if you mistakenly listen to this today, you need to subscribe. And we are across, I think, all the channels.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify. I think we're on Apple also.
Yeah.
All the platforms, you'll find us there. And, whether it's technical, whether it's scientific, whether it's economic, energy has so many ways of looking at it. And be sure you'd get something that speaks to whether you're a past neighbor or you're an EV person, you'll get something that speaks to you. Or you're a big company with branches everywhere, you'll still get something that speaks to your energy needs. So thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Blue Couch podcast.
Awesome.
Toby, let's get back to work.
Yeah.